The city's evening glow usually felt like a warm embrace after a long day, but tonight it was more like a thin veil hiding something darker underneath. I stood alone on the balcony, the cold metal railing pressing against my palms, and stared out at the river that glittered faintly under the scattered streetlights. The gentle murmur of water should have soothed me, but instead, my heart pounded like a warning drum. Something was wrong. Something I wasn't ready to face but couldn't avoid. Inside, the apartment was eerily quiet, the kind of quiet that settles just before a storm. Daniel had been distant for weeks, and I was learning to read the signs, the curt replies, the long silences, the subtle tension in his eyes whenever I asked about his day. But I never imagined the distance would stretch into a chasm filled with secrets I hadn't seen coming. Earlier that afternoon, I stumbled on a letter. Not just any letter, but one that felt like a key turning in a lock, opening a door I wished had remained shut forever. His name was on it, Daniel, along with another woman's, a name I didn't recognize. The ink was fresh, the words carefully chosen, as if someone had rehearsed every line to hide the truth behind polished lies. 4 hours, I debated what to do. Should I confront him immediately, demand answers while my emotions were raw? Or wait, let the storm settle so I could think clearly? But the ache in my chest grew unbearable. I needed to know, even if the truth shattered everything. When Daniel finally arrived home, the air between us thickened, charged with a tension neither of us wanted to name. His coat hung loosely from his shoulders, and his usual confident smile was replaced by a hesitation that mirrored my own uncertainty. He didn't speak at first, just stepped inside, closing the door with a weighty click that seemed to echo through the stillness. "Emma," he said softly, his voice barely above a whisper, like saying my name might break something fragile between us. I didn't waste a second. I held out the letter like a fragile weapon. "I found this." His eyes flickered, emotions flashing too quickly to catch. Guilt, fear, then something deeper and harder to read. "It's not what you think," he said, the words almost pleading. I swallowed hard, trying to steady the tremor in my voice. "Then explain. Because right now all I see is betrayal." Daniel ran a hand through his hair, the gesture revealing his exhaustion. "It's complicated. I never wanted you to find out like this." "Then how? How was I supposed to find out?" I asked, voice breaking under the weight of hurt and confusion. He looked away, and for a moment, the man I thought I knew seemed to disappear behind a wall of silence. Just then, my phone buzzed sharply on the table. I glanced down at the screen, my heart skipping a beat when I saw the message from an unknown number. "You don't see the whole story, Emma. Be careful who you trust." The words hung in the air like a threat. Was it a prank? A warning? Or something far more sinister? I looked back at Daniel, searching his face for some kind of reassurance, but all I saw was the same lost look that haunted my own reflection. That night, the silence between us was no longer just the absence of words. It was a living thing, cold, suffocating, closing in around the fragile hope I was trying to hold on to. And deep inside me, beneath the fear and doubt, a small voice whispered the hardest truth yet. The real fight, for trust, for love, for myself, was only just beginning. The morning light poured through the curtains, but it did nothing to brighten the heaviness settled inside me. I sat at the kitchen table, stirring my cold coffee absent-mindedly, while my mind raced over every possible explanation for Daniel's silence and the cryptic message I'd received. The paper in my hand, the letter, felt heavier than ever, like a stone anchoring me to a truth I wasn't ready to face. I wanted to call my best friend Rachel, but the words stuck in my throat. How could I explain this? How could I say, I found a letter that might mean everything I thought was real as a lie? Instead, I decided to confront the mystery alone, to trace the threads before they unraveled completely. The letter wasn't just a note. It was a contract, signed and dated just 2 weeks ago. A business agreement between Daniel and someone named Evelyn Parker. The name stirred something faintly familiar in the back of my mind, but I couldn't place it. The terms of the contract suggested a partnership, but Daniel had never mentioned Evelyn, never once told me about this new venture. Curiosity gnawed at me until I could no longer resist. I needed to know more. I pulled out my phone and searched Evelyn Parker. The results flooded in. A woman in her mid-30s, a rising star in the art world, known for her sharp business sense and a reputation for being ruthless in negotiations. Photos showed her confident, poised, often with a subtle but knowing smile. One image caught my eye, a group photo from a charity gala, and there, in the background, was Daniel, standing closer to Evelyn than I'd ever seen him with anyone. The pang in my chest deepened. Was this just business? Or was there something else? I couldn't keep sitting in silence. I needed answers, and I needed them soon. Later that afternoon, I arranged to meet Daniel at the small cafe where we had spent so many early mornings talking about dreams and plans. The familiar place should have been comforting, but today, every sound, the clinking of cups, the murmurs of other customers, felt like it was drawing my nerves tighter. Daniel arrived, wearing his usual casual look, but there was a tension around his shoulders I hadn't noticed before. He smiled faintly when he saw me, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Emma," he said, sitting down without waiting for me to speak. "I'm glad you agreed to meet." I took a deep breath, forcing myself to keep my voice steady. "I found the letter, Daniel. The contract with Evelyn. Why didn't you tell me about her?" He hesitated, rubbing his chin thoughtfully. "It's complicated," he said quietly. "Evelyn and we've been working on something that could change everything for us. For the company. For our future." His words should have eased my worries, but instead, they raised new questions. "Why would you keep this a secret? If it's about us, why hide it?" Daniel looked down at the table, then back up at me with a tired expression. "Because sometimes, the truth isn't enough. Sometimes, the people we trust are the last to know everything." I frowned, confused and frustrated. "What are you saying?" Before he could answer, my phone vibrated again. Another message from the unknown number. "Look closer. Not everyone is who they seem." I showed Daniel the message. He stared at it for a long moment, then reached out and gently took my hand. "Emma, I want to protect you from all of this. But the more you dig, the deeper it gets. You need to be careful who you trust." His warning felt like a shadow crossing between us. Suddenly, the woman in the photo, Evelyn Parker, the letter, the message, they weren't just random pieces. They were part of a larger puzzle, one I was only beginning to see. As we sat there, our hands touching but our minds miles apart, I realized something. This wasn't just about a secret business deal. It was about something far more dangerous, something that could change everything I thought I knew about Daniel and myself. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment, every conversation. My heart raced not just from fear, but from the uneasy thrill of stepping into the unknown. I knew that the next steps I took could shatter my world, or lead me to the truth I so desperately needed. But one thing was certain, I couldn't turn back now. The next morning, the city seemed quieter than usual, as if it too was holding its breath. I barely slept, turning over every moment from the night before, Daniel's uneasy eyes, the cryptic message, and the shadow of Evelyn Parker that now loomed over everything. I decided I couldn't wait for Daniel to tell me more. I needed to find Evelyn myself. With trembling fingers, I searched deeper into Evelyn Parker's life online. Her name appeared linked to several high-profile art deals, charity events, and a controversial project that had caused a stir in the city's elite circles. But nothing explained why Daniel would be so secretive about her. Then I found it. A photo, recent, from just days ago, showing Evelyn and Daniel together at an exclusive gallery opening. They were smiling, but the look in Daniel's eyes was different from what I remembered. There was distance, or maybe something unsaid. I printed the photo and sat back, feeling like a detective in a story I never wanted to be part of. Just then, my phone buzzed again. Another message from the unknown number. "Not everything you see is real. Trust no one completely." I swallowed hard. The words echoed Daniel's warning from the cafe. Who was sending these messages? A stranger? Someone watching me? Or someone closer? Determined to get answers, I called Rachel. After a few rings, her warm voice greeted me, a small comfort in the growing storm. "Emma, everything okay?" I hesitated. How much could I say? "I found something Daniel didn't tell me about. There's this woman, Evelyn Parker. He's been hiding things." Rachel was silent for a moment. "Emma, be careful. Secrets like that have a way of pulling you into places you don't want to go." I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. "I know. but I have to find out the truth. She promised to help however she could and warned me not to confront Daniel until I knew more. Later that afternoon, I decided to visit the gallery where Evelyn Parker's latest exhibition was on display. Maybe seeing the woman in person would give me some clues. I arrived as the sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the city streets. The gallery was sleek, minimalist, a place where every piece told a story, every corner whispered secrets. As I walked inside, the murmur of conversations and soft, classical music filled the air. I scanned the room, searching for Evelyn, and then I saw her. Evelyn Parker was nothing like I expected. Taller than I'd imagined, with sharp eyes that seemed to pierce through the crowd. She moved with grace, but there was an edge to her, a coolness that set her apart. Our eyes met for a brief moment. She gave a small nod, an acknowledgement or a challenge, I couldn't tell. I wanted to approach her, but before I could, my phone vibrated again. This time, a new message. Meet me where the past lingers. My heart skipped. What did that mean? Where was the past? I glanced at Evelyn again, but she was already disappearing into another room. The gallery suddenly felt like a maze, and I was more lost than ever. Determined not to let fear win, I made a decision. I would follow this trail, no matter where it led. That night, I sat at my desk, surrounded by papers, photos, and notes. The letter, the contract, Evelyn's gallery, the strange messages, all pieces of a puzzle I was desperate to solve. But the more I uncovered, the more the picture blurred. Something was very wrong, and the deeper I dug, the more I felt invisible eyes watching me, waiting for me to slip. Then a knock at the door. My breath caught. Who could it be at this hour? I opened it cautiously. No one was there. But on the floor, a small envelope. Inside, a single photograph. It was a picture of me and Daniel, taken just last week, but from a distance, like someone was spying. And on the back, a message written in hurried script. You don't know everything about him. Not yet. The chill that ran down my spine wasn't from the night air. It was from the terrifying realization that I was caught in something far bigger than a secret business deal. And now, someone was warning me to stop. But I couldn't. Because if I did, I might lose everything, including myself. The photograph weighed heavily in my hand, its cold surface contrasting sharply with the hot, pounding anxiety in my chest. Me and Daniel, caught off guard, unaware someone was watching. The idea made my skin crawl. Who was behind this? Why were they spying on us? And more importantly, what did they want? I sat on the edge of the sofa, the envelope open beside me, my mind racing. I tried to tell myself this could be a cruel prank, but the precision, the timing, and the cryptic warnings made it impossible to ignore. I needed to know who was watching me. I had to protect myself, protect Daniel, too, even if he was hiding so much. The next day, I forced myself to keep my usual routine, but the world looked different. The people on the street seemed like potential threats. Every glance felt like a secret code. My phone buzzed constantly with messages from that unknown number, growing more urgent and cryptic. Look behind the smiles. The truth hides in the shadows. The words echoed relentlessly. At work, I tried to focus, but my thoughts kept drifting back to Daniel. He was distant lately, too distracted for his usual warmth. Was he involved in this? Or was he just as much in the dark as I was? That evening, I decided to visit his office. Maybe seeing where he spent his days would offer clues. His office was sleek, modern, everything I imagined, but as I searched through files on his desk, I noticed something odd, a locked drawer, the only one he never opened in my presence. My fingers trembled as I found a small key taped underneath his keyboard. Without thinking, I slid the key in and turned it. Inside, I found a folder marked simply EP. I hesitated before pulling it out. Inside the folder were photographs, pictures of Evelyn Parker with other men, not Daniel, men I didn't recognize. Some were clearly clandestine meetings, taken in parking garages, outside cafes, secretive exchanges of envelopes. Alongside the photos were documents, contracts, money transfers, and notes written in Daniel's handwriting. But what shocked me most was a letter, unsigned, but clearly addressed to Daniel, warning him in bold red letters. If you proceed, you risk everything. Stop now before it's too late. My heart hammered. What had Daniel gotten himself tangled up in? What was Evelyn really involved with? Suddenly, my phone buzzed again. This time, a new message. Meet me tonight at the old pier. Come alone. I stared at the message for a long time. The old pier was a place Daniel and I used to visit when things were simple, before secrets darkened our lives. A place full of memories, but also a place isolated enough for danger to hide. I debated calling Rachel, but something told me this was mine to face. Night fell quickly as I made my way to the pier, the cold wind biting at my face. The wooden boards creaked beneath my feet as I walked deeper toward the water. Then I saw her, Evelyn Parker, standing under the dim light, her sharp silhouette unmistakable. She looked at me, eyes steady but unreadable. You came, she said simply. I need answers, I said, my voice trembling despite myself. Evelyn sighed, then pulled something from her coat, a folder thick with papers. Daniel's not the man you think he is. And neither am I. My breath caught. What do you mean? I demanded. She hesitated, then revealed something that shattered everything. Daniel has been working for me, not just as a business partner, but as part of something far more dangerous. A secret operation that could ruin lives. I stared, disbelief clouding my thoughts. Why didn't he tell me? Because he couldn't, Evelyn said quietly. Because the moment you knew, you'd be in danger. The wind whipped around us as silence stretched between us. I realized the world I thought I knew was just a fragile illusion, and behind every smile, every gesture, hid secrets I was only beginning to understand. And now I was deeper in than ever. The night air was thick and biting cold as I stood on the creaking pier, the folder heavy in my hands. Evelyn's words echoed in my mind, each one unraveling the fragile trust one had placed in Daniel. She said Daniel was part of something dangerous, a secret operation I knew nothing about. But what? And why? I wanted to scream at her, demand the truth, but the chill running through my veins muted my voice. I don't understand, I finally whispered. Why would Daniel be involved in something secret? And what is it? Evelyn looked away, her eyes shadowed with regret. He's not just a businessman, Emma. He's been working undercover for years. But this project he's involved with, it's bigger than anything you can imagine. A part of me wanted to believe her, but another part screamed that this was a trap. Could I trust Evelyn? Was she telling the truth, or just spinning a web to trap me? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed again, startling me. I glanced at the screen. It was Daniel. I hesitated, then answered. Emma, where are you? Why didn't you answer my calls? His voice was frantic, but calm beneath it, as if he was hiding something. I'm at the pier, I said cautiously. I met Evelyn. There was a long silence. Emma, he said finally, voice heavy. There are things you don't know. Things I couldn't tell you. But I promise you, I'm trying to protect you. My heart wrenched. Protect me from what? Before I could reply, the call ended abruptly. I sank onto a bench, overwhelmed by the weight of secrets and lies. The photo in my pocket burned cold, a constant reminder that someone was watching me. Someone who didn't want me to dig any deeper. I flipped through the folder Evelyn had given me. Inside were files detailing shady deals, financial transfers, and names I didn't recognize. But one thing stood out, a document marked confidential, Project Orion. The description was vague but ominous, referencing high-risk operations and covert partnerships. Suddenly, footsteps echoed behind me. My breath caught as I turned sharply. Daniel stepped into the dim light, eyes searching mine. Emma, he said quietly, we need to talk? But not here. I nodded, fighting the urge to run. We walked silently to his car. Inside, the tension was palpable. I didn't want you involved, Daniel began. But since you are, you deserve the truth. He took a deep breath. Project Orion is a covert initiative aimed at exposing corruption in powerful circles. I've been gathering evidence for years. Evelyn is my partner in this, but things got complicated. There are people who want to stop us, people who will do anything to keep their secrets safe. I stared at him, trying to reconcile this version of Daniel with the man I thought I knew. Why all the secrets? Why not tell me? Because it's dangerous. If they knew I was connected to you, they'd use that against you. I wanted to keep you safe. My emotions tangled. Anger, fear, confusion. Then why the messages? The spying? The warnings? Daniel looked away, pained. Because someone is watching me, watching us. They don't trust anyone. And now they don't trust you either. Before I could ask more, his phone rang, a number he didn't recognize. He glanced at the screen, then back at me. They're closer than we think, he said. Suddenly, the car was surrounded by headlights. Figures emerged from the shadows. I froze. Daniel's grip tightened on the steering wheel. Get ready, he whispered. And just like that, the fragile line between ally and enemy blurred completely. The headlights blinded me as the figures closed in around Daniel's car. My heart hammered, so loud I thought they'd hear it. Daniel's hands shook slightly on the wheel, his jaw clenched tight. We don't have much time, he whispered. You have to trust me. Before I could protest, the car jolted forward, tires screeching on the pavement as Daniel slammed the accelerator. The night air whipped past the windows as we tore away from the pier, shadows chasing us. I pressed my back against the seat, trying to steady my breath. The messages, the photographs, the lies, they all collided in my mind like a storm. As we sped through deserted streets, Daniel's phone buzzed again, another unknown number. He answered immediately, voice low but sharp. I'm getting close to the evidence, he said. A pause. Then, you're compromising the mission. That's unacceptable. Daniel's face paled. I'm protecting her, he said firmly. Your emotions will get you killed, came the cold reply. You have 24 hours to finish this, or we cut all ties. The call ended. I stared at him in disbelief. Who are they? I demanded. Daniel's eyes darkened. The people behind Project Orion, the ones we're trying to expose. Corrupt officials, dangerous criminals. They have eyes everywhere. And now they see you as a threat. I shivered. Suddenly, my phone lit up with a final message from the unknown sender. Meet me at the city archives. Come alone. Your life depends on it. Daniel looked at me, worry etched into every line of his face. This is your chance to get the truth, he said. But you have to be careful. At the archives, the silence was oppressive. Dusty shelves and ancient records stretched endlessly. I searched for the folder mentioned in the message, hands trembling as I pulled out a thin manila envelope. Inside, I found files, documents, recordings, and photos, all exposing a conspiracy far more twisted than I'd imagined. Names I recognized, including Daniel's closest allies, were linked to bribes, blackmail, and cover-ups. And then a photo made my blood run cold. Daniel, hand in hand with Evelyn, in a private meeting with the very criminals Project Orion was hunting. Had Daniel betrayed me all along? Before I could react, a shadow loomed behind me. Looking for answers? Evelyn's voice was calm, too calm. I spun around, heart pounding. She stepped forward, holding a gun. I never wanted you hurt, she said. But you forced my hand. I froze, realizing the final, terrifying truth. Evelyn wasn't an ally. She was the mastermind. Daniel had been playing both sides, working for her all along. The web of lies tightened around me like a noose. But then, Daniel's voice crackled through my earpiece. Emma, run. Trust me. I'm coming. In that moment, everything I believed shattered. The man I loved was not who he seemed. I bolted through the maze of records, heart hammering, Evelyn's footsteps close behind. Outside, Daniel was waiting in a car, eyes filled with urgency. I jumped in. We're not done yet, he said, slamming the door. As we sped into the night, I realized the story was far from over. But one thing was clear. I was no longer a victim. I was a survivor,